What's going on, guys? In this video, it might be a touchy subject, but I feel like I just want to put some information out into the atmosphere, okay, for anyone who's maybe questioning themselves, or honestly probably should question themselves a little bit. And it's just a subject that I feel like I just wanted to talk about. And you could take it for what it is. You know, you could take what I have to say and take it to heart, as far as dig a little deeper, look into it a little bit, or you can take it and just cast it aside and, hey, I'm just a crazy old man and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But let's get into it, all right? Check it out. What I want to talk about in this video is self-perception. The self-perception that I want to touch on is in the category of like inflated ego maybe, or unjustified confidence. And specifically what I'm talking about is, listen man, you're not a tough guy. Too many men are running around right now and they all think they're some kind of tough guy. So many of us think we're tough guys, and never more prevalent in the area of fighting. So many people truly believe that they can fight. They boast about being fighters, being natural fighter, being born to fight, and I think that's careless, and I think that several men need to reassess their self-perception in that regard. I'll start with this. Willingness to fight is different from having the ability to fight. Being willing to fight, being willing to step up and fight, doesn't mean you have the ability to fight, or that you're good at fighting, or that you're a natural fighter. It just means that for whatever reason, aggression, anger, angst, energy, whatever you may consider bravery, I don't. For whatever reason, you view your willingness to fight as a measure, as a way to measure your ability to fight. That's dangerous. And it's a little foolish. Being willing to fight does not mean you know how to fight. It means you're down to throw down, but it does not mean that situation will end well for you. I hear it so much. I'm a natural fighter. I was born to fight. Listen, none of us were born to fight in the sense that you're thinking. We were not born for battle, okay? We are not natural predators. We don't have armor. We don't have extensive claws. We don't have fangs. We don't spit poison. We are not predators. We were not built for battle. We are soft tissue. Our potential for violence, our tendency towards violent behavior, that is all a mechanism of our fight or flight response, which ultimately was wired within us for survival. It's meant to give us a way to fight back so that we can survive. Our ability or our capacity to kill, that comes from our need to be able to kill to eat, to kill animals, to hunt, so that we can survive. All that wiring is built around survival. Taking all that into consideration, it still does not translate to a natural, inherent, ingrained ability to just be good at fighting. You are not a natural born fighter, okay? You are not born to fight. You weren't born with these natural talents. Listen, I own a gym. I hear it all the time. People come in and they want to pitch me on this like belief that they're a natural fighter. No one is a natural born fighter. You may be born with attributes. Okay, you were born with a tall frame or a big frame, or you have these athletic abilities. Like, you're born with specific attributes. Now, as you train those attributes and you train your body, you can sharpen and hone these attributes into some serious skills when it comes to fighting. But no one walks in with those abilities. Again, people walk into a fight gym or into a martial arts school with attributes. They can then take those attributes and turn them into skills. And as far as being tough, yes, you can have a mental toughness about you. You can be physically tough, absolutely. But that does not mean you're a tough guy in the sense that because you're willing to fight, you're tough. The translation to toughness sometimes is some kind of aggression or angst. Again, it's some kind of like a aggressive energy that people translate to this person is tough. All that is misplaced energy. That does not make you a fighter or a tough guy. Spending time training, spending time in the gym, developing your skills, developing your abilities, right? That will make you a fighter or make you tough. You know, people want to sell themselves on like altercations that they've had in their lifetime. Look, whatever you attribute, if you have a lot of energy or you got this go-go kind of thing or you have this aggression, you got this strength, and against another untrained individual that has benefited you, then absolutely, look, in an untrained situation, when you are fighting someone else who doesn't really know how to fight, your attributes will become a factor 100%. On top of that, then there's luck. There's just opportunity. You know, even against a trained person, there's opportunity. All it takes is one good shot. But the odds of landing that against a trained individual versus an untrained individual, that's the rub. That's where the difference takes place. And that's where you may not be the natural fighter that you have sold yourself on being. When it comes to being a tough guy or to being tough, my view on this is martial arts brings a degree of self-discipline and a heavy degree of humility. To me, the humility is the most important thing. Because I believe a true warrior understands and respects how vulnerable they are. And they are a warrior because they can defend themselves or attack in the face of understanding those vulnerabilities. So being tough to me, being a skilled fighter to me, is being able to fight and fight well in the face of known vulnerabilities, known weaknesses. By being skilled, you mitigate the ability for an untrained person, an unskilled person to harm you. Because you have to consider this. People who are training in combat sports, people who are training in a martial arts school, people who are training in live combat sparring situations, they train to fight other trained fighters. They do not train to fight untrained people. I always tell my students this, you train to fight fighters. So what do you think you're going to be able to do against someone who's not a fighter, someone who is untrained? That said, look, I'm not trying to really attack anyone. I just feel like there's too many people running around with this tough guy attitude or this belief that there's some kind of like fighter with no training whatsoever. Number one, they need humility so they don't carry this extra aggression and cause friction for no reason whatsoever. Just because, again, they've put themselves into this aura of toughness or aggression. And they need to really understand. I say this a lot to my students. You don't really understand how vulnerable you are till you start training. I've seen so many tough guys break once they start doing jiu-jitsu or sparring, and they finally understand how vulnerable they truly are. Their size doesn't matter, their athleticism doesn't matter. They've got a guy that's a 2/3 their size just tuning them up. And I see people break over and over and over to tears, man. Massive, big, heavyweight guys in tears because they don't understand how this is happening. And they have walked around with this inflated self-worth with regard to their abilities when it comes to fighting. And that's what makes martial arts or combat sports training so amazing, because it can humble you and then it'll break you down so you can build yourself back up and sharpen your skills. And while learning that, you also learn to tame whatever aggressions you have towards this, that, whatever the case, if you are that person. Even if you're just a humble person already, it can just build you up. It can build your confidence up. You may not need to be broken down, taken down a peg or two to be built back up. You may be down here and you may need this training to get you up and build your confidence. And lastly, I'll say, you always know who's trained, who really fights, because they're the ones that's not running around starting altercations or starting friction. Because when it comes to knowing it's being a martial artist or even like a trained athlete, or excuse me, a trained combat sports athlete, you don't have any extra like need to go out and prove yourself. That stuff is done on a regular basis wherever you're training. You don't feel the need to get any extra work outside the gym. So those guys are the ones that are quiet in a situation. They're assessing the situation. Again, they're not the barking dog that's out there making all the noise, hoping that all these big gestures and movement and bravado is going to scare away a potential opponent. So I just wanted to talk about it because it's come up a few times. People are pretty humble when they come into my gym, and I have these conversations with them. And then after the first class or two, and they're struggling to breathe, and we're not beating them up for months, right? They're not even allowed to spar at first. But just the training itself humbles people, and I love it because it gives people, again, it builds you up if you need it, or it takes you down to build you up better if you need that as well. So guys, if you're watching this video, again, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I know someone's probably going to be upset. Oh, I'm a nut, because I've had the conversations face to face, and I know how guys get when it comes to this stuff. But I really want you to take a look at what I'm saying, okay, and consider it. And if you really, really want to, I don't know, you've got something in you and you just want to like let it out somewhere, man, get to training. Get with a good gym, get with a good team, and get to training and find yourself in the training. You might be surprised who you discover. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. As always, man, please be sure to like and subscribe. Show us some love. We really appreciate the support. And as always, keep fighting for fit, no excuses, and I'll see you in the next video.